සුපිරි අධිවේගයක් පරදා ඔබ මවිත කරවන වේගයක් විඳ ගන්න. පියවර තුනකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම් ෆයිබර් ඔප්ටික් ජාලයට එක්වන්න. slp.lk වෙත පිවිසෙන්න.
Might not last. Deputy Minister Ajit P. Pereira reveals that the recent vehicle tax hike is a temporary measure. MP Bandla Gunawardena alleges a hidden agenda. Not all smooth sailing. Minister Rauf Hakim cites injustice to minorities inflicted through the new electoral system. Close call. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro escapes an assassination attempt. A very good evening and welcome to First at 9, another Derana 24/7 Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. The customs duty hike on selected motor vehicles which came into effect recently may not last much longer. Deputy Minister Ajit P. Pereira insists that the move, as characterised by the Prime Minister, is a temporary measure. Following a function at a private university in Colombo, the Deputy Minister told media that the Prime Minister has asked the Minister of Finance to inform him of the date the tax would be lifted.
No, we will reduce vehicle prices very soon. This tax was imposed as a temporary remedy to stop the country's wealth flowing out to foreign nations, and the Prime Minister asked the Minister of Finance to reveal as to when the tax would be removed. Accordingly, the tax imposed on motor vehicles will soon be removed. Yes, he did. The Prime Minister asked the Minister of Finance to inform him the date the tax would be removed.
A
UNP candidate contesting through the United National Front can definitely win the election.
In the meantime, parliamentarian of the UPFA, Bandla Gunawardena, charges that a hidden agenda of the government is at play behind the vehicle duty hike. Addressing a gathering in Han Valley this morning, the parliamentarian said the move facilitates a certain company in Dubai to earn an inordinate profit through illicit means.
The government recently taxed a small vehicle by 1.5 million rupees. During our tenure, the cost of the same vehicle was 1.4 million, but now the tax alone is 1.5 million. We expect to reveal the corruption involved behind this tax hike in Parliament next week. The Gazette says that if letters of credit were opened on or before the 1st of August, vehicles under the engine capacity of 1000cc can be cleared under the previous rate of tax until January next year. This tax hike is similar to that of the bond scam. It facilitates a company in Dubai to earn millions in illicit fashion. Letters of credit have been issued for this company over the recent past to import vehicles. So the orders they have placed 3 months ago can be cleared at previous customs duty rates for the next 6 months. Who gets the benefit of this? Accordingly, we challenge the Central Bank, the People's Bank and the Bank of Ceylon to provide the list of those who opened LCs over the last 4 months for vehicles with an engine capacity under 1000cc. They stand to gain an inordinate benefit.
Parliamentarian of the UPFA, Viman Ravansa, characterises the proposal to hand over the Mattala International Airport to India as a sacrifice of the country's national security. Speaking in Pitakotte today, the parliamentarian charged that both Indian and Sri Lankan governments are attempting to conceal the true state of the affairs from the public.
When the Indian Minister of State for Civil Aviation was asked in Lok Sabha whether India has designs to acquire the Mattala International Airport, he said such a proposal is not under consideration. Sri Lankan Minister of Civil Aviation Nimal Siripal de Silva, however, says that agreements are prepared so a permanent stake of 70% of the airport goes to India, and also expects to hand over the management of the airport to India for a duration of 40 years. This makes it evident that both these factions are concealing matters from the public of both countries. Not only Mattala, India has its eye on the harbour in Kankasanture, airport in Palali, East Terminal of the Colombo port, as well as Galle and Trincomalee harbours. The Hindu says that it cannot be thought that India's interest in Mattala is for economic reasons, but for strategic reasons given the airport's proximity to the China-controlled Hambantota port. This is a deal which sacrifices the national security of the country. The Fisheries Office in Mannar was attacked by some LTTE cadres who were rehabilitated along with ones who were not, accompanied by members of the Tamil National Alliance. The attack was based on issuance of fishing permits. The officials at the office are refusing to resume work and have closed the office, handing over its keys to the Colombo office. Despite such, not a single arrest is made. Why is the IGP not acting on this? Even the IGP has a complaint against him at the Commission to investigate bribery and corruption lodged by other police officers for soliciting a bribe. In such a backdrop, the IGP has no right to remain in his post. The recent news of a salary hike for parliamentarians is a ruse to brush more pressing issues under the carpet.
Minister of City Planning and Water Supply Rauf Hakeem is also of the view that the government is considering to postpone the provincial council elections. The minister made his thoughts clear on the matter during a function held in Kandy today.
Even though a new electoral system for the provincial council elections was introduced by passing it through Parliament, it brings great injustice to minorities through its demarcation and the mixed system. So we asked them to take it back and hold an election immediately. We vehemently object the efforts of certain parties in the government and some parties in the opposition who are attempting to postpone the elections. We will arrange a discussion with the leaders of the common opposition next week and will work towards defeating this conspiracy. We have an option.
The national organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna, Basil Rajapaksa, charges that the government has split into two banks and are arguing as a deliberate ploy to postpone elections. The Foreign Minister made the allegation while addressing the maiden public gathering of the Colombo district under the series of public gatherings dubbed Podujana Rala.
The first meeting held in Colombo under the series of public gatherings organised against the government, dubbed the Podujana Rala, was held in Hangwala this morning.
Another thing this government is doing is postponing elections. They don't even speak of which system to be used. What the government does to postpone the elections is to divide into two banks and debate laws they brought up themselves. Some argue the previous system is good and the others argue the new system is better. They even blame us over this and ask us which system is better and should be used. What I have to say is that we will win for sure irrespective of the system adopted. I saw the President saying yesterday that salaries of parliamentarians will not be increased. We didn't ask him to increase it. It's the UNP that increased their salaries. Parliamentarians of the ruling party are paid in one way and parliamentarians of the opposition are paid under another. The Prime Minister pays parliamentarians of the government a further 200,000 rupees in comparison to our salary. We call on the government to stop it.
Leader of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna parliamentarian Andra Kumara Disanayake charges that investigations into allegations of corruption levelled against the Rajapaksha family are swept under the carpet owing to an accord between Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and former President Mahinda Rajapaksha. MP Disanayake made the allegations while addressing a gathering in Ampara.
The political future of some are entirely dependent on Ranil Wickremesinghe and they protect him. Another faction protects Mahinda Rajapaksa as without it, there is no political life for them. We don't have to protect either of them since we are not indebted to them. I, however, ask Mahinda as to how many times he was protected by this government. When Shiranti Rajapaksa was about to be arrested, Mahinda called Ranil. Various investigations lost their impetus due to an accord between these two. The Tajuddin and Lasantha murder probes have halted owing to an agreement between Mahinda and Ranil. There is a voice recording of a conversation between Ranjan Ramanayake and Bimal Weerawansa's wife in circulation. In it, she says that Minister Rajitha and his wife promised to save a file related to corruption. And yet, we are accused of having dealings with the government. We don't have any dealings with the government or the Rajapakshas. I call on Rajapaksa to come for a debate with me. I'm prepared to reveal how he avoided reproach from this government, his corruption, the crimes committed by his family and their foreign and local property.
National Sustainable Development Strategy is set to be launched at the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall tomorrow. A media briefing on the initiative is held at the Government Information Department today to bring the public up to date on the subject.
Today, the entire world has vowed to ensure sustainable development. We established an expert committee to look into this. The main intention of the committee is to sketch a draft on how to create a framework to achieve sustainable development. Accordingly, this strategy is ready to be launched. This is only a draft. We respectfully invite all parties, including the governing party and the opposition. We invited former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, leader of the opposition R. Sambandhan, and Bandula Gunawardena, who is keen on economic policies. Other parliamentarians who are interested in economic policies are also welcome. We invite them to go through this and give us alternative feedback.
We will join you right back after this short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. Former Foreign Minister of Maldives, Dunya Mamoon, advocates to review the foreign policies in Asian countries regarding China, as the country is exerting unhealthy influence on other nations using its financial clout. Speaking to Nivari Amawat at Hyde Park recently, Mamoon mentioned that even the Sri Lankan government has found it difficult to review Chinese projects owing to being indebted to the superpower.
Your country in this region, any issue and any problem within your country would actually affect regional security.
I think a stable Maldives is very important, especially for our neighbors, Sri Lanka, India, and we hold a very strategic position within the Indian Ocean. You might well know that our relationship with India has been very strained in recent times, whilst our relationship with China, for example, has been strengthened. And I do see, there is some positive in that we do get financing for some of the bigger development projects, as in Sri Lanka, I think. But I think we are becoming also overly dependent and aligned perhaps with China, which is not healthy for Maldives in the longer term. And I think this is an issue of concern to the rest of the world as well. So I would strongly advocate for having a more balanced foreign policy. It's important for us to stand on our own 2 feet. We want to see our development for our people, but I think we need to keep those relationships very balanced rather than tilting too much in a particular direction.
But China's influence in funding development and India's close ties with the neighbors, what is it for the Maldives?
I think Maldives, we still continue to have a professed India-first policy. But as I mentioned, we see a shift in that, and we see the shift towards China, which obviously
China has also been funding a lot of infrastructure development, especially with their Belt and Road Initiative.
I think there's a lot of concern, a lot of research also done around the world how China is using their financing, their loans to kind of spread their influence, and not necessarily always in a very healthy way. So I think that is something that we do need to review as a country, because in the short term we might be able to achieve a lot of things by the support that they're giving, but I think we have to look at, are we compromising our sovereignty? And I remember in Sri Lanka as well, the new government had made promises about reviewing projects and the relationship, but ultimately I think when you have those ties and you are in debt to another country at that level, it is not that easy to kind of get out of some of these projects. And so I think we have to build our links back to India, our links back to the Western world, for example, the EU, the UK, the US, many of whom are estranged from Maldives now because we have moved away from them, we're not listening to them, and we are not really treating them as
The Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, shows faith in Sri Lanka's banking sector, saying one can be quietly confident of it. Addressing the event in Colombo recently, he also stressed on the need to guard against complacency, saying there will be ramifications despite the country's banking sector being in pretty good shape, as indicated by various metrics. The Governor, however, sounded an alarm when he said that success ultimately comes down to the human element, as future successes is entirely dependent on excellent people entering the banking sector.
Clearly, from a central bank's perspective, financial system stability is one of our two core objectives, in addition to price and economic stability. one has to be careful about saying this, because just when you say this kind of thing, something disastrous happens. But I think, I think one can take some quiet satisfaction about the state of our banking sector. If you look at the various metrics, they're in pretty good shape. We're seeing a little bit of an uptick in NPLs, but by and large, the sector is in pretty good shape. But one thing we must guard against, and it's a very dangerous thing to be complacent, is to think that this is a journey that has now enabled us to consider ourselves in a safe and secure place, because we are far from achieving that, simply because there's exponential change. I mean, there's exponential change affecting almost every aspect of human endeavor. But the financial services sector is arguably the sector that is experiencing the fastest and possibly most disruptive change. With fintech, with blockchain, these new technologies are by definition disruptive. So how does one accommodate disruptive technologies in a stable way? Efficient financial intermediation is crucial to achieve a higher trajectory of growth and employment creation. But nothing will guarantee success in the future without excellent people in our banking sector.
Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, was addressing the inauguration of the partnership between the Institute of Bankers of Sri Lanka, Northumbria University of UK and BMS to introduce British degree pathways in Sri Lanka.
Education in Sri Lanka today is in a very crucial moment, because we are planning to become a developed country within a single generation. And it is the human capital that would push us upward to become a rich country within that particular period of time. When we get ourselves affiliated with good universities, we are the people who benefit.
Meanwhile, British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, James Doris, spoke on how the UK's banking sector expects to face the challenges thrown up by Brexit.
Key to success is, with transnational education in getting it to work, is getting the right mix of cross-border collaboration, dependable policing of high standards, and the right guidance. UK banks, insurers, asset managers are a linchpin of the economy, not just of the UK, but of countries around Europe. They face a period of significant change, including from the UK's forthcoming exit from the European Union, though not, of course, from Europe. Challenges lie ahead. But as a world-leading financial centre, the UK looks to the future with confidence. One of the reasons why the UK prepares to face this change with confidence lies in the fact that its financial services industries are backed by deep pools of experience.
Market experts expect equity levels to slow down in the upcoming week, and mixed market sentiments are expected to continue. For a detailed report on how the market will perform this week, we have Amanda Lukugamage from First Capital Holdings.
Mixed sentiment experienced during the last week is expected to continue in the coming week as well. Foreign participation is expected to remain at moderate levels. With the upcoming result season, we expect market activity levels to slow down as local counterparties, both retail and high net worth, as well as foreigners, are likely to remain on the sideline, adopting a wait-and-see approach. Buying interest on undervalued blue chip counters are expected during the week.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says he has survived an assassination attempt involving explosive drones. Maduro was speaking at a military event in Caracas when the alleged attack occurred. Live footage of his speech shows the president suddenly looking upwards, startled, and dozens of soldiers running away.
Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro was speaking at an event to mark the 81st anniversary of the National Army when two drones loaded with explosives went off near the president's stand. The cameras moved away from the president and focused on soldiers. Within seconds, soldiers could be seen scrambling. Photos on social media showed bodyguards protecting Maduro with bulletproof shields after the alleged attack. Later, in a national address, Maduro said a flying object exploded near him and it was a big explosion, adding there was another explosion seconds later. He went on to accuse neighboring Colombia and elements within the US of instigating a right-wing plot to kill him. Maduro added that he had no doubt Colombian President Juan Martín Santos was behind this attack. The Colombian government has denied any involvement, saying there is no basis to Maduro's allegations. Venezuelan authorities said 7 soldiers were injured and several people were later arrested.
20 people have died after a World War II vintage aircraft crashed into a mountainside in eastern Switzerland. The plane was carrying 17 passengers and 3 crew on a sightseeing flight when it took off yesterday afternoon. Operator Ju Air said it has suspended all flights until further notice. The cause of the crash is not known. Swiss Transportation Safety Investigation Board said the aircraft smashed into ground almost vertically at relatively high speed. It said that a collision with another aircraft or some with other obstacles can be ruled out. Time for you to get the latest from the world of entertainment with our segment 70 Seconds of Entertainment.
Barry Chuckle, one half of the comedy duo The Chuckle Brothers, has died aged 73 after a short period of ill health. The entertainer, whose real name was Barry Elliott, starred in Chucklevision with his brother Paul on the BBC between 1987 and 2009. Fans have paid tribute on Twitter, with many thanking him for the laughs.
No, spin it round. All right.
Patrick Stewart is to reprise his role as Jean-Luc Picard in a new series of Star Trek. The character, who featured in Star Trek The Next Generation and the popular X-Men movies, will return in the new CBS All Access series, which will reveal the next chapter of Picard's life. A rape allegation made against the Backstreet Boys member Nick Carter is being reviewed by prosecutors. A woman has accused the 38-year-old singer of sexually assaulting her in 2003, and the Backstreet Boys member has denied the charge. While the alleged victim was not named, actress and singer Melissa Schumann tweeted earlier this year that she had filed a police report against Carter.
Now, if you want to know more about what's happening in Hollywood, we got just the answer. Our brand new program, Showbiz Tonight, will start today right after the news. Stick around.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
On to a bit of tennis news now. Alexander Zverev will seek to win his 3rd title of the year today in the final of the City Open in Washington. The world number 3 dispatched his semi-final opponent in under 1.5 hours.
Champion Alexander Zverev cruised into the final of the City Open with a 6-2, 6-4 victory over Greece's Stefanos Tsitsipas in Washington yesterday. World number 3 Zverev needed 87 minutes to win his 40th match of the year. The German dropped only 1 point on his first serve and took advantage of the 10th-seeded Greeks' poor serving in the first set. Zverev will seek his 3rd title of 2018 when he plays unseeded Australian Alex de Minaur in today's final. De Minaur defeated 16th-seeded Russian Andrei Rublev 5-7, 7-6, 6-4 in a late semi-final battle that lasted almost 3 hours. Rublev started his long day by defeating American Denis Kudla 6-1, 6-4 in a rain-delayed quarter-final match.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
A very good evening to our viewers and welcome to Forecast First. Starting off with your temperatures for tomorrow, that will vary between 20 and 35 degrees Celsius with the highest of 35 expected along the coastal line from Mullaitivu to Hambantota. Well, when looking at the map, a low pressure zone will develop in the western province and will gradually disappear. Well, several parts of the island, including Jaffna, Mena, Anuradhapura and Trincomalee, will experience the sunny weather, while the areas of Kandy, Colombo, Call and Matara as well as Hambantota will experience showers. That's all from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And before we end tonight's bulletin, we would like to once again remind our viewers, as we mentioned earlier, coming up next is a brand new entertainment program, Showbiz Tonight, that starts right after the news. Make sure you keep tuned in. That's all we have for Mother Derana First at 9 for tonight. But before we go, we'd like to take you to Victoria Falls, located on the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe. This spectacular, awe-inspiring waterfall is considered the largest waterfall based on its combined width of 5,604 feet and height of 354 feet, even though it is not the highest or the widest. We hope you enjoyed these visuals and have a pleasant Sunday.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.